In the famed encounter between Yaakov and the Malach of Esav, the Torah tells us, Vayivaser Yaakov levadai. That Yaakov was left alone. And then follows Vayeavik ish imoi. There was someone who scuffled, who had a struggle with him. What is this lashon of levadai? What does it mean that Yaakov Aveno was left alone? The Svarim tell us that he was alone, besides the fact that he had no physical relatives or family members or soldiers near him. He's also devoid of a certain level of siyata d'shmaya, a certain level of malachim leaving him. Is that he was out there alone for himself to draw into his inner kaiches, into his inner strengths, and only through that get through the challenge, get through the nisayon that was necessary for Yaakov to become who he was. That's Vayivaser Yaakov levadai. That's what it means, alone. When we discuss aloneness, someone being alone, we know v'niskav Hashem levadai, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is alone also. What does that mean? He was alone, not in a lonely sense, but rather he's in a place of echad, that there's no one, there's no thing, there's no entity in the world that comes close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'niskav Hashem levadai b'yoyim hahu, that aloneness, that a realization that there's nothing like HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world, and nothing touches even close to it, will become apparent in the end of days. Yaakov Aveno had in some manner, in some bechina, that levadai, that aloneness, that being by himself on the same level like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yaakov Aveno, his godless was that he was the same Yaakov Aveno over here as he was up there. We know that the Yaakov Aveno, the face of Yaakov, was the demus of the Adam, was the demus of the human being, the face on the Kisei HaKavod. Of the four things that were on the Kisei HaKavod, one was an imprint, the Tzuras HaAdam. Who was that Adam? Was Yaakov Aveno. Because Yaakov Aveno lo yimshina, he did not change. The same Yaakov Aveno that was here was up there. What does that mean? It means Yaakov Aveno was so together with the Rebbeinu Shalom, was so connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that there was no change. He was so always looking, what can I do for Hashem? What does Hashem want from me, even in this world? That he was an Olam Haba Deke Yid. He was living with HaKadosh Baruch Hu even up there, and there was no change. Comes Esav. Vayeavik ish imoi. Comes the Malach of Esav, what Esav stands for, and tries to spread us with dust, and tries to cloud our vision. We know what's right. We know what we should be doing. But Vayeavik ish imoi comes up the dust, kicks up the dirt and clouds our vision and fogs us with that dimyon that we should be doing other things, we could be doing better, it's not as bad, it's not as good, we shouldn't be doing this. That's what dimyon does. That's Amalek, that's Esav. That's the society of today. Aralois HaShachar, we're in that final battle. MS versus Sheker. MS versus dimyon. Versus fantasy. Versus a world that doesn't really exist. It's a facade, a smokescreen. And they fought together. Who's going to win? Now, how could Yaakov Aveno, who's a mere mortal, beat a malach? Beat an angel? But the Teretz says the answer is because Yaakov Aveno was echad, was levadai, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And because he was on top, he was in the Kisei HaKavod, which was before, was on higher level than the angels, than the malachim themselves, he was able to win over and be victorious over the malach. Which is, of course, is going to happen in our days. But we have to realize one thing. We might not be Yaakov Aveno. Moshe Rabbeinu also wasn't Yaakov Aveno. But it says that when he had to beat the malachim up there, when decided where the Torah should go, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, hold on to my Kisei HaKavod. Because if you hold on to the Echad, if you hold on to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then you're able to beat over the malachim, the bad ones. So to us, we could learn from this. We could take that midah of Yaakov of Emes. If we hang on to that Emes with dear might, with our entire essence, hanging on to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, knowing, living with the truth, as dark as the world gets, as much fog, as much dust gets thrown up in the air and clouds our vision. But if we hold on to that Emes, the Kisei HaKavod as strong as we can, we'll also be victorious. And as the more we do, the more light will spread, the more emes that we'll bring to this world. Just a little bit of light pushes aside so much darkness. With the more emes that we bring, sheker will become obsolete. Have a wonderful Shabbos.